company gets 5 minutes. The panel will have 5 minutes to comment. And if we, are you saying it's crazy that they only have 5 minutes?
No.
All right, I didn't mean to call you out on that. Sorry. All right, 5 minutes panel, and maybe a little bit of audience participation, maybe a little bit at the end, and then some networking at the end. So we're going to go alphabetically for the 6 companies we have, which means the first one is Aerify.
Hello everyone, I'm Andreas. I'm the founder and CEO of Aerify, and I'm here to talk to you about one of our products called AirServe. It is a direct-to-app or mobile content provider monetization platform. A little bit about the company. We're about 2.5 years old. We're founded by ex-Yahoo, ex-AT&T, ex-MediaOcean executives, and we noticed that there was quite a few things wrong with the way that apps and mobile content providers were monetizing their inventory. Primarily, we saw that they were very, very banner focused, and as a result, they had low CPMs. Most app entities cannot actually sustain themselves based on the general advertising that they get. Additionally, when these banners or when these common advertising formats would run, it would be very disruptive to the user experience, and the companies that were provided to them, be it your standard mediation platforms or alternately mobile ad networks, they'd really provide no service or troubleshooting to what's called the mid-tier or the long tail of mobile applications. So we went out and we solved some of these problems by creating what we consider to be the first cross-platform, cross-device mediation entity that also mediates not just your standard display, not just a little bit of video, but the full range of things like nascent advertising formats like native, customizable video to your standard display. And what we've seen from the market is that because we allow for this type of customization, because we're starting to standardize these very nascent advertising formats, we're able to uplift the monetization of the app significantly. The way the economics actually work is if you look at how much a banner generally generates for an app, it's 2 cents to potentially $2 from a mid-tier to small app. As you move up this sort of monetization chain, you get to rich media and standard video and native video, but both the inventory and the amount of supply, the inventory and the amount of demand that can be paired with these types of formats shrinks. So as a result, you have apps that just kind of experiment with display or experiment a little bit with video, not really committed to it, and they hardly make any money, so they're forced into things like paywall. So we look at that and we think that we have a solution for it. The platform itself operates as one standard unit for the app. So it's a piece of real estate, 300 by 50, it could be your standard banner display size, but through it we call all these different types of advertising. So the user would log in, this is an example of the dashboard, they can get a snapshot of their activity, they can see what were their top performing sites, what were their top performing apps, but they can begin to see things too, like performance over time for the different advertising verticals. So that is to say, if I allocate a portion of my inventory towards something standard like pre-roll video and allocate a very similar portion of my inventory to something more native, standardized units, I can compare these things and see what's actually going to yield most effectively. The way this breaks down is if you think about an app, they'll have all these different types of placements for their different users. So they might have a video unit for a user when they're swiping through content. They might, if you're a game, have the ability to show a banner at the bottom of the game that you're playing. But fundamentally, when you think of all these different units, they're very much regimented towards one type of advertising. So imagine if you're an app, and through that same banner unit, you were able to call a video, which, as I showed before, actually monetizes at quite a bit higher revenue. Well, then you could conceivably, without creating any more than the typical user disruption, generate way more value within your app and generate way more revenue. What we've also built are 2 types of currency or value exchanges. So you're allowed to take something like virtual currency within a game, and you can reward people for that if you'd like. But we've also done things like content unlock, where if you're a magazine publisher, you can swipe through content and you can allow people to get through, let's say the next article or whatever the case may be, and we've standardized this all for you within our infrastructure. I'm going to list here just very quickly some of the integrated partners. These are people that are pure mobile networks, but we've also done customizations for advertising companies that are typically not mobile providers, and we brought them into this ecosystem. This is your general reporting. You can see that again, it's lifetime value in addition to advertising formats, in addition to individual networks. Then finally, here are different types of placements. If I were to just click very quickly on this will take you, I obviously can't show it now because I'm on a laptop, but this will take you to a native unit on a partner of ours, Third Age, and you can see it doesn't even look like an ad itself, but this is as standardized as any banner or video placement. So going back into my presentation, this is what it looks like in an app. I'm all out of time, thank you.
Great, thanks. Don't go anywhere. You have questions? Andreas, don't go anywhere. Who wants to start?
Our supply side platform. So
who's the user who uses the dashboard in the example you described?
The app itself.
The developer.
Yeah, and I think the way that we differentiate against a lot of other SSPs is that two main things. One, we're focused not on banner formats or your standard formats. We're focused on more sort of nascent formats like native, customizable video, things that I mentioned before. And the second thing is we actually can generate these formats out of the same real estate. So through the same tag that you can apply to an app or through a mobile content provider, you can divvy out 5, 6, 7 different formats of advertising, and you get to test these and see. And we will do all the parsing, we will do all the customizations, we will do all the integrations. So someone might find out maybe video is where I need to go as opposed to banners, and you can make intelligent decisions in real time around that.
Do you have any kind of quantitative numbers to kind of show the advantage of using yours, and can you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. So the numbers that I showed in the presentation, if I'm allowed to reference it, were real numbers. So we've gone out and we've actually not only done the mediation piece where we've done all these integrations, but we've secured demand in all these different units. So what you see here is typically what we would find. So within native video, what's also called social video, it's around a $20 to a $30 CPM. One of the interesting things about mobile, unlike desktop, is there is essentially more of a need for click-to-play. There isn't really autoplay in iOS the same way that exists on desktop. So because of that, you can generate these massive kind of 2-3 cent per view style economic scenarios with social agencies, and it nets out to a $20 CPM. And then as you move through the funnel, you can see there's quite a bit more demand than banners, but there just isn't the same level of monetization for your app. So these are all real numbers from what we see in the market.
So one of the problems I see with businesses like this is that it's really easy to grow to a good level of revenue, but as soon as competitors see that you're doing a good job, they copy you and they start going after their customers in bits and pieces. So I'm just wondering what you're doing to kind of retain customers and how you see yourself as being defensible against other ad platforms out there.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'd say when I look at the two things that we do, which is we're going after a piece of the market that right now, I think if you look at all the content being published, and that's true of both desktop and mobile, this sort of long tail within apps, this isn't really an attractive market to I think most people. So by virtue of the fact that we're generating economics with these small apps, with these mid-tier sort of mobile providers that they really can't get from fundamentally other systems. Over time, I agree that might change, but I think we have a runway of maybe, 1 to 2 years where that part of the market is going to be highly dependent on us if we are successful in our outreach or our technology efforts. And then I think the second thing too is that a lot of the data that we're collecting while we're doing this isn't just fundamentally, what's the right word to say, like standard analytics in this range. We're collecting things like social data, we're collecting things like performance by advertising type data, we're collecting even multi-screen data. And all this data, we feel like if we're successful in our endeavor, could be used to power even more innovative forms. So maybe native is the thing that's most interesting to us today, but who knows, 6 months down the line, if we could apply similar data collection to new and more exciting advertising formats, we will do so. And hopefully, because we'll constantly bring this level of innovation through a standard format to our partners, and because it's a market that is really underserved, we'll have enough of a runway to succeed in our endeavor.
Who are your biggest customers?
So right now we have two different styles of customers. We have large apps. I would be remiss to give you a full list, but there are apps like Sticky Notes. And then on the other side, we have demand partners who I can't reference publicly, but they're major agencies, performance companies, and between those two parts of the ecosystem, we've been able to generate in the billions of impressions worth of buying volume, if you will.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm the founder of CommonDesk. I've been a software developer for 30 years. In the past 20 years, I've worked as a consultant on Wall Street at companies like CSFB, Morgan Stanley, and Bear Stearns. I was one of the first to recommend the use of Java on Wall Street when I worked as an evangelist for Marimba. This was the team that left Sun Microsystems to commercialize Java. My last consulting assignment occurred when I pitched the CTO of the New York Stock Exchange on a collaboration portal that I had developed, coincidentally called CommonDesk. I then spent the next 6 months familiarizing the floor traders with this portal. CommonDesk today is a profitable, self-funded 14-person company that provides software tools to companies in regulated industries. And that's probably something that not a lot of people here understand. In 2005, we released our first product. It was called the Compliance Engine. And what it did was to provide regulatory compliance for mobile devices. So mobile device has many different forms of messaging on it, and all forms of messaging in a brokerage firm need to be surveilled. So to use a device in a brokerage or regulated industry, you need something like this. So today, we have 20,000 active users and a 91% renewal rate. Next slide. So we solved the problem. So our compliance engine was the first to solve the problem of the security gap found on mobile devices. This allows, excuse me, let me go a little bit forward. This allows financial service firms to use mobile devices. In 2010, we released ArcViewer, which allows enterprise users to access archived email on mobile devices. These messages are stored in the popular Semantic Enterprise Vault, which is commonly used in enterprises. Enterprise Vault is the market leader in email archiving and has 60% of the market. ArcViewer today is co-marketed with Semantic, but today I'm really here to discuss some of our upcoming products and tell you why our customers need them. So at the 10,000-foot level, our job is to help CIOs incorporate new technologies so their employees can be effective and competitive. So when we talk to CIOs, what we find is they have 3 priorities at this point. One, they want to make their IT departments more cost-effective using cloud solutions. But they're very concerned about things like security. Secondly, they must incorporate compliance regulations that require monitoring and the capturing of information into these solutions. So the compliance regulations that they have to deal with are things like Dodd-Frank, SOX, and those affect all publicly traded companies. HIPAA affects healthcare companies, and SEC 17A and FINRA affect broker-dealers, insurance companies, and banks. Now, the last thing is that CEOs are under pressure to incorporate tablet and mobile devices and social networks into their workflows. The BYOD trend has created a sea change in computing. Many expect tablets and mobile devices to replace desktop systems. I'm not entirely convinced that this is going to happen. But that hasn't stopped the users from expecting to have the same type of features found on their desktop on mobile devices. For this reason, many users have turned to consumer-based tools such as Dropbox to fill in the gaps. But Dropbox was built for consumers and not for enterprises. So it does not provide enterprise level security or compliance. It's funny, some have referred to Dropbox as the problem child of computer security. But Dropbox is not alone, as it is part of a new category of applications called Shadow IT. Shadow IT is the use of a technology that's not supported by a centralized IT department. Shadow IT apps come in two forms. Services like Salesforce that companies pay for, services like Dropbox that employees get for free. In a recent survey, 3 out of 5 mobile users said they resort to using their own mobile device to access work files because the company did not provide tools that would allow this to occur. In our next release of the compliance engine, we will solve the problem of Shadow IT. We will offer a two-step approach. First, we will enhance our desktop capture capability, so applications like Dropbox, Facebook, and iCloud, to name a few, can be made compliant for a variety of compliance regulations. For mobile devices that can't be captured using this technology, we'll provide a suite of applications that provide the same capabilities as the popular Shadow IT applications. Finally, we will provide a single management console to manage all of this. So I see as I'm running out of time, I'm going to skip to the important part. So we're here to introduce ourselves to the venture capital community. We're looking to raise between $5 to $7 million in a Series A round. Initially, we will have to invest heavily in R&D and building out our team, and then after the next 8 to 10 months, we'll invest in a sales and marketing effort. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to talk today, and I look forward to your questions.
Great.
So it's an interesting space, and I think you have all the right insights. At the same time, it's pretty crowded with some large companies going after the same opportunity. So the compliance angle is interesting, but from good technology to Zen Prize, I guess BlackBerry is betting the entire company on providing a mobile device management platform that's going to enable BYOD. So how do you think about it? And by the way, just on the Dropbox thing, there's also Box.net is secure. There's actually a Google Ventures portfolio company called Ignite.
GeriJoy and Ignite.
Yeah, Ignite specifically. So how do you position in that landscape?
So there are a lot of players in the MDM market. First created by BlackBerry. So we've been a BlackBerry partner for maybe 8 years. We are building a BlackBerry 10 version of our product and working directly with BlackBerry. We have a very good relationship with them, but BlackBerry is providing an MDM platform. That's for managing devices. It's not for providing compliance information. Compliance involves capturing information that would be exchanged between an end user and an employee. And the possible outcome of the compliance would be someone's personal information might be lost, like in the case of social security numbers, or a piece of information that would allow someone to profit on the information that might be released. So MDM vendors are really focused on managing devices. And BlackBerry, and I'd say BlackBerry probably has the best platform, and now that they're back, it's going to shake up the whole MDM market, I believe. But we're focused entirely on compliance.
And you're the only company that does?
No, there are other companies, but we're focused very heavily on compliance.
BlackBerry's back?
BlackBerry is back in the sense that now they have their heads screwed on right, and they are coming to the market, the enterprise market that they had before they went into the consumer market. Many enterprises have not decided to change yet. We see large banks. We're talking to Bank of America 3 days ago, last week. They are sticking with a lot of the BlackBerry systems because it's unclear whether all of these MDM vendors can provide the same capabilities. But you're right. I'm not here to say that BlackBerry did not create a huge self-inflicted wound when they about 2 years ago. But if you're talking about security,
Just wanted to see if they were back.
The stock price is up.
I think, well, there's a lot of talk you're saying about MDM and so on, but containment, wrappers,
Yep.
Application management. There's so many of these things,
Yep.
and I think you're trying to solve one portion of it. And so in terms of compliance, it's, I understand what you're trying to do. I work in the banking industry a little bit, and so I understand the importance of that. But it's almost like you're tracking text and voice message, whatever it might be, but that's almost like I wonder how you prevent, right, before that actually happens,
Right.
can you actually prevent these things
Sure.
from actually happening?
So with this shadow IT strategy that we're talking about, people are bringing in new applications into the enterprise. Dropbox, they're using Facebook, they're using iCloud, lots of different solutions, and all of them are points where information can be released. We've had a good track record in predicting what will happen in the market. Our solution for BlackBerry was introduced and used a full 2 years before FINRA mandated its use in a compliance regulation. So, and we also predicted that social networks were going to be captured. So we have a track record of understanding how FINRA, how the regulations work, and how that's going to impact these industries. So I agree that we may utilize a vendor like Entrepreneur to provide a container solution, or we might use the one that's in BlackBerry. It's not really based on what and I will say that I think Samsung is doing themselves a great service by trying to enter the space that BlackBerry may have, has provided to you.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks much. Okay, next one, FitBark. So where are my FitBark guys? I often have requests for props at these events. This was the best request I've ever gotten. There was a request to bring a live dog, which you don't have outside, do you?
They're waiting outside. I mean, you can bring them in if you want.
Yeah.
Bring them in, but not the dog.
We have a skateboarding bulldog, but you guys wouldn't let him in.
No, I know, I'm sorry. The building doesn't allow dogs, I apologize.
Service dog.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Davide. I work with FitBark. Guys, say hi.
Woof.
Woof. And this is Freud. This is our little Yorkshire. He's 7.5 pounds. A couple of years ago, we were wondering how do we check if our father is really walking our dog or not. And so we couldn't find anything that would answer that question, and that was the beginning of a journey. And we decided to start building that product, which is now available. And if you don't mind, I'll circulate this. Flash forward a little while, we are generating traction with our product. We have completed functional prototypes. We have generated pre-sales. There's people who love our product, have given us a lot of feedback on how to make it even better. And we have we're lucky. We have received interest on the part of distributors from different countries. Pet food manufacturers are reaching out to us. Manufacturers of products for the vets are reaching out. So we feel there's a nice opportunity, and we would love to accelerate on our growth at this stage. So our product, we spent a lot of time to really make it tiny and miniaturize all the technology, and really we designed it around our dogs. We really would like to stress the fact that it is incredibly tiny compared to anything else you'll ever find. So it's really comfortable for our dogs. The platform communicates via Bluetooth 4.0 between the wearable bone and smartphones. And then there's, again, Bluetooth connection to the home base, which talks via Wi-Fi to home routers. So this is just the beginning of the kind of data, big dog data that we want to generate. We start calculating custom target goals for physical activity for each dog based on their breed, age, size, etc. You can check on your dog from anywhere, even from out of town, and see how much he has completed at any point in time during the day. You can really check it from 2 to 3 p.m. Your dog walker walks your dog. You can answer the question from your vet. When you bring your dog and he's going to be a little sick, you can answer the question, how was his energy level in the past few days? And you're going to send him a little report or just going to show him what's going on. So this is where we start from. We're trying to create a big data company here. It's not an activity tracker. We're not even probably going to make money out of selling the activity tracker. Why do we like this market? We like this market because it's big. It's a 50+ billion market in the US only. It's been growing steadily through the recession because people cut their primary spendings before cutting the discretionary spendings of their dogs. And it benefits from nice growth drivers from the wearable computing, Internet of Things, quantified self-movement. And so this is a little landscape page. It's not as nice as the one that Matt did a few days ago, but we're trying. We are positioning our product as a product which is going to leverage the data that we generate to start playing way beyond just the activity tracking space. So how do we make money? Probably not much from selling the product. We, at some point, might introduce premium features, alerts, notifications that your dog may suffer from the same disease of another dog, that your dog may have behavioral problems. We're going to learn a lot from what we see. We're going to probably start selling our data to some of the partners that you see up there. For example, a pet food manufacturer, as they did in fact, they reached out to us and they asked us, can you give us your product? We want to make a food recommendation, a pet food recommendation based on the energy level of a dog. Or maybe a doggy daycare provider would love to show that he's being responsible, and so is going to help us sell to their customers. Pet insurance, same kind of argument to decrease the premium. Our team is made in New York City, and we're very proud of it. We have lots of love from Italy, and we are super excited to have been able to reach to this point basically out of passion rather than money. This is a point where we have a tangible opportunity, and we're looking for the best way to bring the company forward. Thank you.
So really fun space, and I'm a big fan of the space, as you know. So the usual question is that it's all great, but making hardware is hard. What are your plans? How are you going to solve that problem?
So making hardware is hard, and we like that. That means that not everybody can start a company like this. We're lucky that we have really smart folks helping us, and we have a product which is really tiny by any standards. It's an 8-layer PCB. So the first part of the design, we hope we're not even going to change that design for the next 6 to 12 months because we spend so much time and effort doing it. But there's a ton to be done on the software side of things. But we have a fully functioning platform. And after this event, if anybody wants to check, we're going to be able to do a little demo of our app. So you got to check it out. Yeah.
So two quick things. So one is I'm really worried about hardware businesses that don't make money on the hardware unless there's something the consumer can do to pay you once they have it. So I'm interested in that. The other thing that worries me is when you say we're going to make money off the data. That's always, you know, like how much data do you need to have this be interesting? What kind of insights do you expect to see? I mean, you know, recommending food and stuff like that, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of opportunity to make money off the sort of big dumb data.
No, so I want to say, you know, based on what we heard from folks, you know, who started to buy our product, even if we price it at $99, which is, you know, 3 to 4 times our cost, you know, it's still a very interesting proposition. So we are able to generate interest at that price point, and we can make money. The question is, you know, and maybe would love to hear feedback. Do we need to make money out of that or not? We have a feeling that there is a competitive advantage in being trying to be the first company who gives out or is able to put in the hands of consumers as many devices as possible and learn as much as possible from all these dogs. So, if we have, you know, thousands of dogs on our platform, we can learn a lot about the lifestyle of those dogs, about the behavior of those dogs, about the medical conditions of those dogs. And so it's just a consideration, you know, that we are making at this time.
As crazy as it sounds, you're playing in a wildly crowded space. As you probably saw, like there's like 10 of you. And as you saw yesterday, you know, Whistle is pretty far ahead. They've raised $6 million. They have a $99 thing. You said your design is better as a differentiator. Their design looks pretty good. How do you catch them? Or is this a space where you have two huge companies emerge? Or sort of walk me through that, because I think you're playing from behind right now.
Sure. So this is a, and I'd like to go back for a second. This is a crowded space, but nobody is playing yet in the space of the small-sized dogs. It is difficult to find anything to put, be it a GPS tracker, which we're not. It's very difficult to find anything that goes on a small-sized dog. And so that's the first thing that we bring to the table. We have a product which is really tiny. The experience, it is designed from the ground up, from the perspective of a devoted dog parent, rather than, you know, the veterinary's point of view. What we're trying to do is start from, you know, a nice looking app where you can look at your dog and learn about what's going on with him as, you know, as a devoted parent. But the space is not crowded yet, because there's only basically, you know, that company that announced that launched yesterday that is playing in a non-GPS only space, and, you know, with a product that you know, nobody yet is going to be able to, you know, to put that product on a small-sized dog.
All right, we're gonna, that's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Staying in the same theme, GeriJoy?
That's the virtual dogs.
Okay.
I'll let them anyway. So, hello. I'm Victor, founder and CEO of GeriJoy. My motivation for GeriJoy was my mom, caring for her mom. See, my grandmother lived by herself and became very lonely over the years and depressed. That caused a lot of stress in my family. And my mom actually just dropped everything and went to Taiwan for a year just to spend more time with her. Now, we're not alone. There's 42 million Americans that provide care for an older parent, and they worry all the time because they can't be there for them all the time. This is a huge problem. In fact, there's 1 million American Alzheimer's patients that live alone. They really shouldn't be alone. So we've developed a solution at GeriJoy. Let me just show you a couple of seniors benefiting from the GeriJoy Companion.
I got you scratching now. How does it feel? Oh, you're always saying that.
This one.
Yeah.
I still.
That's his deceased wife. And then-
Jim said that she loves Dorothy.
So yes, we make virtual talking dogs. So the GeriJoy companion, it leverages standard Android hardware on tablets to provide emotional support and companionship to seniors. We do so through conversation, companionship, and photos of family and positive memories. And when the dog talks, it's with true intelligence and compassion, because we actually have live human staff working all around the world 24/7 to provide the conversation. Yep. And we also write up these diary entries. They're really adorable. Family caregivers love to read them. And you can imagine the peace of mind you have as a caregiver, being able to see 24/7 that your loved one is doing well as a person and that they are in good company. People love this. Let me just show you. This is a testimonial from one of our customers. He noticed that their little dog, Peanut, really helped to open up his mom, and she's more conversant, outgoing now, and it's rolled back her Alzheimer's by a year. And he's only had it for a couple months. Wow. Okay, now there's nothing else like the GeriJoy companion at all. All right, we provide connection and companionship through conversation and friendship. Right? If you have a paid caregiver, they can be condescending. They're very expensive. They can't be around all the time. You know, even a live pet, they're great. But many seniors just can't take care of a live pet. And even if they could, it doesn't provide this kind of conversation and connection with family that the GeriJoy companion gives. And computers are just too difficult for a lot of elderly people. And fall detection bracelets, well, they can detect emergency events, same as GeriJoy companions can do, but they provide no engagement and don't actually improve health for the senior until something bad happens. The GeriJoy companion does all of this. What's our business model? Well, our costs, because we outsource our conversational staff, for example, in the Philippines, we can keep as low as $49 a month, which based on our $99 a month subscription allows us to pay off our customer acquisition costs in only 4 months and generate $600 per year in ongoing revenues per customer. And as I said, there's 42 million caregivers for older adults in the US. Right now we're selling direct to consumer on our website and people love it. But what we really want to do to lower acquisition costs is to partner with B2B organizations, B2B partnerships. For example, home care agencies, which right now have an average profit margin of less than 7% in the US. And by tacking GeriJoy on as a value-added service, we can help them to actually double their profit margins for select clients. So that's awesome. We've made a lot of accomplishments so far. We've validated with users. We've filed our provisional patents. We've received funding from very savvy investors. We've been honored by AARP, TED, Med, even the US Senate. And we've launched our commercial platform, and now we're piloting with leaders in senior care. For example, Pace University here in New York, we're working on a clinical study to help see how this improves psychological health for seniors and for caregivers as well. That's funded through the Verizon Foundation. We have the right team to lead this company. I'm the CEO, Victor. I led troops as an Army officer, so I know how to lead and how to get stuff done. I've served, besides that, I did my master's at MIT researching human-machine interaction for space telerobotics. And I'm widely known right now as a thought leader in the senior care technology field. My co-founder, Shuo, is a PhD candidate in the MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab, and she has work experience from Microsoft and Qualcomm, as well as outsourcing experience in India and China, which is very useful. She's a mobile and networks specialist. We also have a fantastic board of advisors, including Ben Choder, founder of Haptique, which is one of the leading mobile health app companies. And then Dr. Joe Kvedar is a world leader in connected health. Brad Weinberg and Matt Farkash are the founding partners of Blueprint Health here in New York, a leading healthcare technology accelerator, a Techstars affiliate actually, and Stephanie Spong, who's managing director of Moxa Ventures, which specializes in game layer technologies. So, if you'd like to help us bring joy to geriatrics and really improve the lives of millions of seniors and their family members, whether that's by investing or by introducing us to additional customers, then let's talk. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a quick question. So you had said that there was, you have 24/7 staff, and is the staff actually responding to the...
Yep, so what happens is they listen to an audio video stream. We have a web platform. They typically work from home. We're also working with staffing agencies in the Philippines now. Those people wouldn't work from home. But they just log into a web platform anywhere in the world, anywhere there's internet. The web platform allows them to manage a large number of these companions, stream the audio and video from the tablet. And basically, it's like the movie Avatar. Instead of a big blue alien, you're a cute little dog, and your career is to make people happy. And it's really a fun job, actually.
What's your next hire?
So our next hire, I mean, we're always hiring more conversational staff. And so our next hire, I think, is going to be someone in the business development side. Actually.
Next. Try again. Design.
Okay.
I mean, I think, I said to Eric, I think this is fascinating. Yeah. I think what you're onto is really compelling. I think it looks a lot worse than it probably should.
Yeah, so we're coming out with a cat one too. So the next
we're at an MIT event.
Yeah, I know. So actually, so like we already have these people in China actually. So my co-founder Shua is like managing them, and they're coming out with the next version. I actually personally like the cat more. It looks a lot better, but yeah.
So can the GeriJoy companion wear a FitBark?
I mean, I guess you could stick it onto the tablet, but there's already a accelerometer on the tablet. Actually, we have some ideas of our own about that to encourage exercise in seniors.
And so, what's the your perception of the level of penetration of tablets within the seniors, or
a lot of nursing homes, like the progressive ones, are starting to get them. But we're really, like, that's why one of the reasons we're on Android, because they would get this specifically to use this service, right? And so Android's just much cheaper for the same kind of hardware. Like the Google Nexus 7 is the one that we're using right now. And so, you know, and so they can actually, if you go to our website, you can actually buy it, and we do something special to it after rooting it so that they can actually disable the nav bar and stuff, so that even if the senior has dementia, they can't exit the app accidentally, which is a special thing that we do. So, yeah, I mean...
I think this is an interesting space as well. For Samsung, we're always looking for kind of interesting ways to monitor people, to help them, you know, and passively do this without kind of...
And we would love to use Samsung hardware if we could provide some kind of
exactly, in my pocket. Quick question for you. As you mentioned, you know, some people, for these people, they may not actually be able to even turn this device on, and they forget and so on. So how do you deal with the people to engage in the beginning? Does the person actually physically be there, their assistant or whoever?
So typically what happens with the consumer model is there'll be a family member that realizes the benefit this can have for their loved one, and they're the responsible caregiver, and typically they're the legal responsible member as well. And so they purchase this, and they give this to their loved one, and they introduce it, and they talk with the little dog a little bit to give them the impression of that. And from then on, they just build a relationship, and it doesn't actually require any more technical skills from the senior. So the caregiver will set it up. It's just a tablet on a stand. You plug it in 24/7. It's just plugged in, so you don't even have to remember to charge it. Actually, I was talking to somebody else here, and I was actually meeting with a customer right before this, and she was telling me how her dad. One time, like, somebody turned the screen off, because if you can still turn the screen off if you touch the button on the side. And he was like, "Oh, it's a screen." And then he started to look for the dog in the cushions in the couch. And he's like an inventor too, so he like understands this kind of things. But that's what dementia does. But we've designed it so that the senior himself or herself doesn't need to understand any of that. It's your friend. It's always available. It's in a picture frame, basically. And then as the caregiver, you know what's going on. You can go to our family portal, you can read the diary entries, you can add family photos.
So does the conversational people you have, do they actually keep track of all the conversations so that they can refer back to it?
Yeah, it's like a CRM, but specially designed for relationships with older adults. And so it'll keep track of things like people's names, the caregiver's names, the caregiver's visiting schedule, level of dementia, so that they can talk appropriately with them. And then a record, you know, the log on the family portal, that actually serves the dual purpose of reporting back to family caregivers, but also serving as the short-term memory for our staff.
So this is super interesting to me. One thing I'm wondering is, though, it kind of feels like the type of product that's either going to stick or not. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about your churn and like what sort of objections you're running into kind of early on when people start using this.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people will be like, "Oh, technology is hard," and so I think that's just a marketing thing. Like, we really have to work on getting the message across that, you know, how this is benefiting existing customers, and that you don't actually require any technical skills, because that's what a lot of even like caregivers for seniors will be like, "Oh, it's technology. This isn't going to work for my parent." Like, and so that's just a marketing thing. And so we're working on building like B2B partnerships where they already have kind of a higher touch connection with the customer, so that they can go and actually like tell them about it rather than just a quick visit to the website. And so that's another reason why we're partnering with home care agencies and assisted living facilities, where they already have that relationship and they can take the time to explain everything.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is George D. I'm a co-founder and head of product at a company called Linea. And my co-founder and CEO is right there in the audience. And what I wanted to talk to all of you today about is what Linea does. Oh, can everybody hear me in the back? What Linea does and how we are going to bring the joy back to viewing your photos. So how many of you in the audience has taken a photo? This should be everybody, all raising your hands. So how many of your photos look like this or organized like this? So I had the same problem until we started developing Linea. There were too many places and too many ways to be able to organize your photos in such a cluttered dimension that we thought, maybe there's a better way to do it. So I'm not a professional photographer by any stretch of the word. I use an iPhone to take pictures, and that's pretty much the extent of my photography. But I do take a lot of photos. I have maybe over 10,000 photos myself, and it shows in the data that everybody else does like taking lots of photos. Before, a while back, the Library of Congress used to be the largest repository of photos, and that was around 14 million, and today Facebook sees 100 million photos that are uploaded every day. So the amount of photo creation is continuing to grow, and nobody is really solving the problem of how you view them in a better context. So today, there are 2.5 billion people in the world that have a digital camera, and that number is obviously growing, and that contributes to over 3.5 trillion photos that is also growing every day. This is a nice little illustration of how when the new Pope was ordained, there's an obvious increase of people that are taking digital photography. But while taking photos has become increasingly easier, and we no longer have to really have the need to delete photos anymore, there really hasn't been any innovation in the way that we view and browse our photos. We're really still stuck in the era of the slideshow. There's a really small illustration down there of the Kodak carousel that was created more than 50 years ago. And all that we've done is really progress in the digital space, right? So we see photos in thumbnails, and we see photos as individuals, as a slideshow, but there really hasn't been a way to see your photos in the context of stories. And so we are, like I said, forced to be able to view photos in thumbnails and singles, and stories behind all of our photos are lost. And so that's why we built Linea, and I wanted to show you a little demo of what Linea looks like. Here you'll see Linea as in its first case. This is a line that I created, one of the first lines that I made, basically a grouping of photos. And in this line, I've invited my girlfriend, and she's been putting her favorite photos in here. Obviously, they are not mine because they look really good. And I'm able to view this experience as as a story, essentially telling it in the context of places that we've been to, the friends and the family that we've been able to experience these moments with, instead of viewing them as small thumbnails in a folder or something. And it's been a really positive experience for us to see the number of users grow and really appreciate how we're disrupting this photo browsing experience and seeing them comment and create these new lines based on events or based on the people that they love. In fact, one of the main threads of discussion is how people are using them to tell more visual stories. Obviously, you can see here it's a little bit more fragmented of the different places that we've been. But we've been growing, and I wanted to show an example of how people are beginning to use these lines as stories. Photos, we believe, are a very personal thing, but a lot of our users have been telling us that stories are more or less universal. And so they've been moving in this direction of making these photo stories that are compiled of not only people from within their group, but also other people that are contributing to events. So this is the age life cycle where people bike from San Francisco to LA, and they're really all gathered around a similar cause. But while they have a similar cause, they all have different journeys along that path. So while some you might see have a little bit of fun, I'm dressing up here, others have a little bit harder time, and it's really about physical fitness and benefiting the cause. And so through this, other people are able to collaborate and add their own photos and share their own journeys. So what we've been doing is moving towards a direction where we are making it smarter. Linea is becoming a platform that enables us to algorithmically detect photos and learn about them. I'll just jump back here into the keynote. What we do in our algorithms is detect information and metadata in photos so that we can place photos properly and correctly within specific frames, which we're calling intelligent photo framing. Which highlights focal points in our memories or in our photo libraries, making it easier for us to get to the photos that we want faster. And then inevitably, one of the features that we've released is making a physical book out of it. So you just press a button, it automatically puts your photos from different libraries into a view that is created for you, and then you're able to hit a button and print it. So what we're doing right now is going towards a beta where we put more emphasis on this algorithm. Things like composition and auto enhancement of photos and detection of specific themes within photos like locations and people in the photos, and making it a little bit more personal to you, and therefore taking the experience back and bringing it back to you. Thanks.
So this is a very crowded space, obviously, and I wonder if it's defensible. That's my only concern. I personally looked at other companies in this space, but they have a very unique core technology, so that you're no longer really searching for photos or viewing photos in the way that we've been traditionally doing it, but the difference between searching and finding a photo, it's organized in a special way you can actually view things, to other types of artificial intelligence that allows you to pick the right photo. If you have 4 shots of the same scene, which is the right shot? And there are applications that allow you to do that automatically and so on. And so I wonder, from an IP standpoint, if it's defensible, and given that it's in such a crowded space.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, we in the beginning, when we started Linea, a lot of time was actually spent on patents and on making so that the mosaic or the orientation of photos and the aesthetic positioning of these photos and what we've created was defensible. But I don't necessarily think that's our claim to fame. One of the things that we like to do, and what we're moving in that direction and spending a lot of time in algorithms, is being able to draw as much information as we can from photos so that we can exactly do that. Address the problem of, there are 4 photos that are relatively similar, let's pick the best one out of them based on an aesthetic score that we assign to them. Or maybe there's the exact duplicates, let's take those ones out. Or we'll do something like giving a score to a photo that has no people in it versus people in it, and putting a focal point on the faces of the people instead of maybe something that's a little bit more peripheral, right? Like a flower or something like that. So the algorithm platform that we're creating is going to get more and more robust as we continue to be able to draw more photos in, and as digital photos become a little bit more intelligent and providing us information, like an iPhone or an Android will be able to give us location-based stuff. We'd be able to compile collections of photos and just saying, I want to see all the photos that I have from New York City, and I want to see them in line with all the people that I like, a set number of people. So customizing it based on your experience.
So as Hugh was saying, I think probably everyone on this panel has seen a very similar pitch many times over. And so the one thing that's going to matter is traction, right? So I don't know if you can talk about your traction now, but that's the only real metric that these companies can get judged by, because the algorithms all sort of fall away if no one's using it. And obviously the rewards are very big if you can get a lot of users, but that's going to, growth and kind of number of photos and user engagement are all the things that are going to matter.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We, as of today, we have about 200,000 users that are using our platform actively, and those users are, creating lines. Maybe not all of them are going through to the step of actually purchasing these books that we, like to be able to see as our metric for engagement. But it is continuing to grow, and within a very restricted environment. Right now, what Linea has created is a really private kind of environment where, like I mentioned, I was able to share something with my girlfriend specifically, and then she'd add photos. But there really is no network effect within the first build of it. And so getting into a more public-facing view of what Linea is, like for example the AIDS life cycle, we'd be able to make that a public line instead of something that's private, and people would be able to collaborate on it. So if I wasn't at that event and I wanted to be able to see and take part in that story, I'd be able to jump on and search that up and yeah, go ahead.
How did you get 200,000 users?
We did a lot of so we did some early mobile marketing upfront. And a lot of that drove the numbers up, and based on their liking of the application, they continue to use it, and through like a very small mechanism of sharing through emails, they were able to share it out to a specific group of friends, but nothing as exponential as we'd like to be able to see. But yeah, our 200,000 users mostly came from a large burst there, and then small like media placements. We had some things in like local articles, and we had TechCrunch articles that really drove up those numbers.
TechCrunch got you users?
Yeah, well, TechCrunch gave us a little bit of a spike, but I think it helps to just get more visibility on it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last one.
Hi everyone. Who wants to see a PowerPoint? Yeah. My name is Jordan Stolper. I run a company called Storydesk. We are 2 years old. We have about, 25, 30 big enterprise customers who pay us because our software lets them deliver interactive, really cool, engaging, and measurable presentations from their iPads. And this lets them sell more, ultimately. So instead of showing you my deck and all that Storydesk, I'm just going to run you through one of my clients' presentations. They've said it's okay. And you get a sense for why they're paying us and what they find interesting about this. So basically, this is a platform, right? It's software, lets you create an interactive presentation that's non-linear, so you can journey around, find whatever screen you need to really easily. And when you get there, there's something to do, right? And that's ultimately where most people's presentations fall down, is they lack interactivity. So I want to know about aerospace, I tap on that. Same with biomedical, right? This is effectively a template, right? It's been themed for this client by computer, so not a lot of human involvement. And we essentially have the ability to do this over and over again. And what this does is it lets people participate in their own learning, right? So if you're a marketing guy at a big company, you create all these PowerPoints, you're shipping them out to here and there, you've got no idea what happens at the most important moment of your actual sales funnel, when the rep gets into the meeting, right? What this does is A, ensures that it's a good experience and that it's interactive and that it's participatory. Secondly, what it does is it measures what happens. We know who's tapped on what, who's looked on what for how long, and we have the ability to share it. We have the ability to build in really elegant video into the product. And this is all done by somebody with no technical skills using a web-based platform, which I can show you if we have time. And what's exciting about this is, rather than spend 100 grand or 50 grand for a custom app, this lets a marketing department essentially have a beautiful, unique, fully interactive iPad app that they can manage themselves, starting from $49 a month per user. Am I out of time? Yeah, well, you know what? Does anybody have any questions? Because this is the essence of Storydesk.
Okay, all right. Talk a little bit about the competitive market that you're in. Are there any?
Yeah, I mean, the competition for us is more, people who've decided to go build custom apps. It's not really hard to talk people off the ledge of PowerPoint.
Yeah. What about Keynote though? Like you can have a nice Keynote on an iPad.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately what they're coming to us for is interactivity. Okay. They want to participate in the presentation. They believe that ultimately, by people getting involved in the conversation, that it's stickier. I mean, you put an iPad in front of somebody, it's putting Play-Doh in front of a little kid. They expect to be able to interact with it meaningfully rather than just flick left to right.
So it means that if you're in a sales meeting, you're literally sitting right next to the person.
We can do that. We can do this from above. We're releasing a feature pretty shortly where I'll be able to broadcast the presentation to your iPad, and you'll be able to participate in the presentation but not advance the screen. So I remain in control, but you get to sort of tinker with it.
You said you were grabbing analytics during the presentation. Can you talk a little bit about that? What does that
Sure.
look like?
So Storydesk knows that I'm presenting at 30 Rockefeller Center at 7:45 or whatever time it is, that we've spent this much time on this screen. At the beginning, not in this presentation, but in others, I'm prompted to enter who the client is. That information can come from Salesforce, so we know how long I spent presenting to Eric, what he looked at, and then when I'm done with the presentation, I can share it to your iPad. And you can have it on your iPad, and I can see what you're doing. And when I have updates, I can push content. I mean, I basically have a media channel directly to your device, and can see, how engaged you are with the content.
How many customers, roughly?
We have about 2,000 on the self-service platform, and about 25 big enterprise companies. Hugo Boss, Ralph Lauren, Instrong, big pharma companies.
You make money from both sides of it?
Yeah.
How much are the things?
The retail for enterprise is $49 a month per user.
What do the enterprise users get?
They get basically our set of templates. They are themed for that company's brand, and they get their own app icon.
So do you have an interface where they can actually design it themselves and so on, and build it for, let's say, various business units within the company?
Yep.
Is that how it's working?
Yep.
Do you have the analytics dashboards that you can show as well? Or?
I don't think you're ready to see it. This is the authoring side. I can move around screens. I can insert new templates. Basically, junior level person in the marketing department who today makes presentations starts using this, and they can create an unlimited number of presentations, ship them out to all their entire sales team. Everybody's on brand, on message with an extremely sophisticated piece of software that would typically otherwise be unaffordable or take a really long time for that company to get done.
Great.
Thanks, everyone. Yes, your question?
So we have a little bit of time. I'd like to open it up to questions in the audience just for a few minutes, and not just for Storydesk, but for the other companies that presented as well. So I saw a hand go up.
Two quick questions. Is the per user price for the marketing users or the sales users?
We don't discriminate.
Okay. And then the change management. So if I'm the marketer and I make changes,
All you can eat.
But everybody gets it immediately, the updates?
Yes. If they're in the middle of a meeting, they get up and they can choose when they actually do the recycle of the content. It's not a new app download, it's a refresh of the content. But if you're in the middle of a meeting and there's a new update, it doesn't interrupt you. You do it on your time. Yes, sir, in the back.
How do you differentiate yourself from Scroll Motion, who I think is doing something similar?
Can you repeat?
The question is, how is Storydesk superior to Scroll Motion?
Maybe I should have repeated.
I've never actually seen their product. Doesn't seem to be available for public use. We have a self-service, no-touch model, which lets somebody with no tech skills get started and rock and roll today. My impression from Scroll Motion is really targeting, very, very large enterprise and has, a long sales cycle, is very expensive. So,
are there questions in the audience for some of the other presenters as well? Any questions back there? All right, well, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
Yes, for Linea, it seems like it would be a good thing to be able to put in some words to describe your photos and talk about them.
Yeah,
So the question was, it would seem to be a good thing to be able to put in some words.
Yeah, and it's actually something that a lot of people have requested as well.
You have to speak up.
A lot of people have requested that functionality as well, to be able to, I guess, narrate stories as well and intersperse them within the photos, and that's something that we're working on right now.
Why don't you come? Why don't you come?
And I imagine you're also going to add keywords and tags and things like that.
Right, exactly. So as we move towards that public model that we were talking about, where people are able to create that lines that other people are able to participate in, then yes, tagging and keywords and being able to search for things is something that is definitely in the next path.
Okay. Other questions? Go ahead.
For GeriJoy, just wondering, is the service going to be available in languages other than English?
So for GeriJoy, will the service be available in languages other than English?
So that's a great question, because actually my co-founder is actually a Chinese national, which is very interesting, because she's a graduate of Tsinghua, which is the top Chinese university, and we have these special government incentives to set up an office in China. And so there's minority groups here in Chinese, and also we're partnering with somebody in Singapore, because all the seniors in Singapore speak Mandarin, and they make a lot more money than the people in China. So there's an interesting thing there as well, similar to what's going on with English in Philippines and English in America. And we're also on our clinical study with Pace University, we're actually going to be investigating this not only in Mandarin, but also for Hispanic populations in the New York area, because we're also, one of our staff members is actually in Mexico, just so happens. And so we can actually test that out as well, because our hypothesis is that minority groups will respond even better to this, and even like instantly connect with the GeriJoy companion, because it will be speaking in their native language. And so especially for Chinese and Spanish, those are very, very easy languages to staff in. So yeah.
Patrick, yeah.
I also have a question for you. So you focus on the elderly, right, like as an audience, but do you also think of other audiences? Like I'm an only child. I think I would have appreciated something like that. When I was growing up, so I was just wondering like whether or somebody who cannot fall asleep at night or something like that.
I mean,
the question, I just want to repeat the question in case people in the back didn't hear. So the question was whether Victor's ever thought about other audiences other than the elderly, so maybe only children or...
Yeah, so that's a great question as well. So fundamentally, it's great for anybody that just could use some companionship and the benefits of pet therapy, which is universal almost. And so we've had a lot of people approaching us about autism spectrum disorder for children, and even an alternative thing that a couple of partners in China have suggested is having this as providing it to the single children in China, because that's very common in China, and actually having it speak English so that the Chinese kids grow up with a competitive advantage, having their kids grow up with an English-speaking friend and be fluent in English. So that's actually huge, because, well, if you understand Chinese culture, that's huge. But, so definitely in the future, but we're just focusing our marketing on the senior care space. I mean, it's GeriJoy, and we're a startup, so our resources are limited when it comes to marketing. So, yes.
Other questions? Gentleman in the back.
Any chance that GeriJoy might be interested with the government to keep the boomers out of nursing homes?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So I was
Say it one more
invited
time to keep, sorry.
Okay.
You know, we got the boomer generation hitting the nursing homes. There's not enough spaces for us. Can GeriJoy be of interest to the government to help us keep us out of the nursing homes?
All right, can GeriJoy keep the boomers out of nursing homes?
Yeah, so that's exactly actually what we want to do. That's kind of the whole movement right now. Nobody wants to go to a nursing home. It's called aging in place. People want to age and grow old and eventually die in their own homes, and that's something we totally support. And in terms of like the government, yeah, totally. Like the U.S. Senate actually has a committee called the Special Committee on Aging, and they actually invited GeriJoy to go, and we demoed recently at their Healthy Aging event on Capitol Hill. And if you read the blog post by AARP, it'll actually say at the end of it, yes, the GeriJoy companion, or yes, the talking dog stole the show on Capitol Hill. So yeah, we presented a couple seniors, senators. Senators and seniors, and that's something we're following up on. And so we have the support of the government and also large organizations like AARP. So yeah.
All right, two more questions. One more question. Go ahead.
What experience have you had with GeriJoy in detecting health issues in the healthcare setting, in the patient care setting?
So, I mean, we actually put out a press release about, like, for example, one time the dog woke up to a large sound because we had to pick up on ambient volume levels, and if it spikes, for example, that's one of the cues for our staff to wake up the dog. And so that happened one time. It turns out the sound was a caregiver, a home caregiver that was paid to take care of the senior. She was screaming at the senior to get ready and go to the state program. She was screaming, screaming, screaming. And that got reported up our chain, and we reported that to our customer. And she was super grateful because that's something that she wouldn't have found out normally. It's not something the senior would have brought up. And so she, they trust us like family, basically, and she fired that caregiver and got replacements. So we can actually, in kind of care situations, we can actually serve as sort of a supplementary kind of watchdog. Or in person. It's because we're highly accountable, because everything's done through our servers. So not only are there the logs, which are especially written up by our staff, but actually literally every word that comes out of the dog's mouth is recorded on our servers and recorded back to the staff members that originated those words. So it's highly accountable, even more so than in-person caregivers.
All right, last question. Or if there is none, we break for networking. All right, so thank you first of all to the 6 presenting companies who are amazing, and thank you to my panel.